A nurse has been arrested after her husband caught her having sex with her 15-year-old stepson. 35-year-old Alexis Von Yates had her nursing license revoked last week as she awaits trial for the alleged statutory rape of her stepson. On the night of July 26, 2024, Yates put her 2 children to bed and then hung out with her 15-year-old stepson on the living room couch. Yates made several inappropriate comments to the teen while watching a movie, and they eventually had sex. The unsuspecting father came home from work to discover his wife and son on the couch undressed. The father then drove his son to his grandparents' house but did not report the crime. The day after the incident, Yates called the boy saying she wished they had not been caught and asked him to rate the interaction. He replied 7 out of 10. A concerned family member eventually reported the incident to police, and Yates was arrested. She has now lost her nursing license with the board, citing concerns about her judgment and conduct, but has pleaded not guilty to her charges. The boy's identity has not been revealed due to his age. If she is found guilty, what should her sentence be? Let me know in the comments.
Listening to this shit about this woman makes me feel like shit like this happen a lot. But the difference is that, when it happens to women or to a young girl, it's way more publicized. And also the problem is when a 15 years old boy sleeps with like a 35 years old woman, it just feels cool to him, right? You don't see it as any big deal. You don't see it like, oh yeah, someone just assaulted me or someone just raped me. He's going to tell his friend like, yo, I slept with a 35 years old woman and shit. I feel like things like this actually happen a lot. We just don't talk about it enough. That's the problem. The women version of these things is way more talked about. Imagine a 35 years old man sleeping with a 15 years old girl. Everyone is going to be outraged. We're going to talk about it. There's going to be an outrage. People are going to start putting the news and every shit. They're going to call him a pedophilia or whatever they're going to call him. But because it's happening to a man, we rarely hear about this shit because the man is not, making himself the victim. He's probably not talking about it with nobody. That's why we don't talk about it enough. But I feel like shit like this happen a lot. Because so many times we got reports from high school teachers and college teachers that are females, grown-ass women getting pregnant for like a 14 years old boy. But we just brush over it. We just, we hear it and we just forget about it. If it's a woman, we're going to talk about it for weeks, for months. Probably luck to do that for years. But when women do it, we don't really talk about it that much. We just, ignore that shit like it don't exist. Maybe we're going to talk about it for a few days and that's it. And this is one of the biggest problems. And one thing a lot of people don't understand is when these little boys start getting older, it's a little bit of a trauma for them because after going through all the shit at a younger age, they don't respect women no more. Because they know the teacher is banging when he was 15 years old is a married woman. Then a lot of people going to expect these younger boys to get older and be like, yo, we respect women. That's why some of these younger boys don't respect nobody, especially women. But we don't want to talk about that, right? So this is I saw these stories and I was like, this shit happen a lot. I can pull up multiple videos of teachers sleeping with their kids that we just don't talk about at all. I can make a whole series about this shit of teachers, female teachers sleeping with a 14 years old boy, with a 13 years old boy, with a 15 years old boy. But people don't call them pedophilia. People don't, say much about it. They just ignore it. They just ignore it. If it's a dude, they lock him up. If it's a woman, maybe she get a slap on the wrist and that's about it. And one thing I've also observed is, as much as we talk about men, men are violent, men are this, men are wicked, men are bad, all the shit women talk about men. I actually observe that when a woman is in a position of power, any position of power, they tend to abuse that shit. I don't know, maybe it's me, maybe it's someone else, I don't know, but they tend to abuse that shit. If it's in a relationship, if you let your woman slap you around, she gonna keep slapping you around. If you put a woman in a very powerful position in schools, like teachers and shit, they're gonna start abusing that power. Feminism and shit, they're gonna start abusing that power. Things like that. It happens a lot when you put a woman in a position of power, as much as they blame men for the whole life problem. And I ain't saying every woman, but some women, they tend to abuse the power. And I don't see a lot of people talking about this shit. People ignore this shit like it never happened, but it do happen a lot of time, which is crazy to me that people don't talk about it that much. Anyways, I saw this story on Twitter, and I was like, we need to bring a little bit of awareness to this shit. This bunch of female teachers sleeping with this bunch of young boys, and these young boys staying in school and shit. We need to bring a little bit of awareness to that shit. I'm not saying every woman does this shit, but I just observed that when they're in position of power, they tend to misbehave too. They tend to misbehave. That's crazy though. The craziest part is this young boy is gonna think, I'm just sleeping with my teacher. It's a cool thing. She's 35, she's hot, whatever. And we saw in the video like she lost her license and shit, but I don't think this is a first rodeo, man. I think she's been doing it for a very long time. She just happened to get caught, But I can guarantee you in that same school, I can guarantee you a lot of teachers are doing that shit in that same school. In every school. Most of the young boys just think it's cool. Even in this current video, the dude's still texting her like nothing happened. But anyway, guys, let me know what y'all think about this shit in the comment section, man. Please like and subscribe, man. I'm gonna try to make this shit a little serious, talk about this shit a little more. But anyway, let me know what y'all think. Please like and subscribe. I'm out of here.